Hi, I'm Ferg, Daphne's husband and tech geek. I'm pleased to let you know that Daphne's blanket books, her blanket patterns, including this one, and over 50 knitting stitch patterns are now available for free download. There are full details on how to get them at the end of this video. So it's now on with the tutorial. Welcome to the tutorial video for Beautiful Balloons Baby Blanket. Another original design by Daphne. The blanket has a single colour adorned with clusters of colourful balloons.
You can knit this pattern using one long circular needle, or you can use the usual pair of ordinary needles. Both are fine. The pattern starts with 24 rows of garter stitch to make a bottom border. There's a garter stitch border up each side as well. There are also internal borders. This square here will be the fabric on which you will embroider the balloons. When you begin this internal border here, it's a good idea to mark the right side of the work. When your knitting progresses up to here, the main body of the work, you no longer need these markers, as it's quite easy to tell which is the right side and which is the wrong side. The pattern also suggests that you put markers, these ones here, on either side of the internal borders. This is shown on your pattern with a bluey green dot. Those markers go in right down here as soon as you're changing from the border, the bottom border, to the internal borders. So that's where you place those markers. Then you carry them through as you knit. Rows 1 and 2 are the horizontal borders between the squares. This is the horizontal border here. It's reverse stocking stitch with moss stitch in between in the corners. These rows are the rows where you knit the squares, where you later will be embroidering the balloons. Here are my suggestions for how to do the balloons. There are 8 charts altogether. 4 individual patterns, and then the other 4 are the mirror image. This is a suggested layout for using the 8 charts that are on the previous 2 pages. Before you begin embroidering the balloons, you need to mark your grid with sewing cotton. This is shown on the charts in red. The first one you need to do is the one right down the middle. Sew the vertical grid lines with the right side of work facing you. Use a longish needle so you can go up and down a few stitches at a time. This middle line is in between stitches 20 and 21, the middle of your work. Sew the horizontal grid lines working from the back of the work. Now the first one is 10 rows down from the top, from the cast off edge. So 10 rows down and work it from the back. I'm now up to the 3rd row in this piece of embroidery. There was the first row. I started with that one there, 4 stitches. Then I came out a step, went back. Now I've come out a step again, ready to do the 3rd row of this balloon. I'm just going over the top of that stitch there and come up in the middle of that one. Down there. And finish off the stitch down that same hole. you need to use a blunt style needle, such as a tapestry needle. If you have a sharp needle, you're likely to catch little bits of yarn where you don't want to. You're just going through holes. You're not actually going through any yarn at all. You're just coming up in a hole and then you're going down in a hole under those two. Down a hole and up that hole there. Now we have to add one more stitch here so the balloon goes out and around. Then down there to finish that stitch, and that's the third row finished. I have just finished the third row, so let's colour that one in. This was the first stitch that I did. You can see that from the grid line I missed 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. And from this centre grid line I missed 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the first stitch, the very important one that you need to get correct. When I finish this balloon, I'll then do this one on the right. And I'll take as my reference points the grid lines plus its relationship to the first balloon. When we get to the third balloon, the heart-shaped balloon, we have the grid lines plus the relativity to this first one and the second one. I've finished the 3 balloons. I've done 2 strings for those 2 balloons in back stitch. Now this is the third string back stitch. You come back from where you've been and then you go forward. Then you come back where you were, same hole, then go forward a bit. Back into the same hole and then go forward. Back into the same hole and then forward. And that's back stitch. Now let's tie all the strings together with a chain stitch. I'm going to tie this chain down in 2 places so that it doesn't close up on me. So that's one. I'll just open that end up a bit. There's a second tie down. I'm actually using 8-ply wool for this because that's what I have lots of scraps on. Okay, that's one side of the bow. Let's come up in the middle. Now for the other side of the bow. I came up in the middle again. Make a chain. Tie it down in 2 places so it stays open. The whole blanket is knitted in 4-ply, but this is 8-ply yarn that I'm doing the bows. Let's see how it works. Yep, I think that's pretty good. And there we have the first panel finished, apart from taking out the grid lines. I'm quite pleased with it. I worked all the charts that had 3 balloons first, then moved on to the charts that have 2 balloons. For the charts that only have 2 balloons, I didn't create all the grid lines. What I did was put the centre grid line in, and then just the cross grid lines across the centre. This gave me the starting point for the first balloon. After completing the first balloon, I used it to give me the starting point for the second balloon. This is a lot quicker than putting all the grid lines in as I did over here at the beginning when I was doing the embroidery. Blocking knitted items is the equivalent to ironing other fabrics. For this baby blanket, stocking stitch provides a smooth canvas for the balloon embroidery, which is framed by garter stitch, reverse stocking stitch and moss stitch. After blocking, all these stitches are now clearly defined. To block a finished knitted item, you should stretch it firmly and then drench it. Then leave it to dry for 2 to 3 days. If you do this outdoors, the item can be dunked into a tub of water. Because I do the blocking indoors, I use an atomizer to wet the work, and sometimes I steam it with a hand-held steam iron as well. What a lovely present this blanket would make for a newborn baby. It says, "We're glad you're here and that you've arrived. Let's party."
Enjoy this beautiful, unique pattern. Happy knitting from Daphne and Ferg. Daphne's pattern books, blanket patterns, and patterns for more than 50 knitting stitches are available as free downloads. To get a free download, send an email to knitwithdaphne@gmail.com and include the subject Free Download. There is no need for any content in the email, and then send the email. You will receive an automatic response to your email that includes the link to access Google Cloud. Here you will be able to download the PDF pattern file.